Today we're going to talk about estimating products when we're multiplying fractions. And there are two ways to do this. The first way is using something we call compatible numbers. Now, compatible numbers are numbers that are easy to divide mentally. So let's say we wanted to estimate the product of 1/4 and 17. What that really means is when we multiply 1/4 times 17, multiplying by a fourth is kind of the same as dividing by 4. So what we want to do is find a number that's close to 17 that we can easily divide by 4. So what we want to look at is what's the closest number to 17 that we can divide by 4. We've got some choices. For numbers that are close to 17, we could have 18, we could have 17, we could have 16. But again, the key is we want to find one of these numbers that we can divide by 4 easily in our head. And the easiest one to use would be 16. So the closest number to 17 that we can divide by 4 is 16. So if I were going to round using compatible numbers, instead of thinking of 1/4 of 17, what I'm going to do is think of, well, what's 1/4 of 16? Well, 1/4 of 16 is 4. So I can use that to help me answer this question. 1/4 of 17 would be about 4. Okay, let's try that. So we're going to estimate these products using compatible numbers. And again, the idea is what number can this be changed to that we can easily divide by our denominator. So if I want 1/6 of 28, what I'm going to think about is what number is close to 28 that I can divide by 6. 28 is either going to be close to 30 or it's going to be close to 24. Okay, because this is 6 times 4, this is 6 times 5. So 28 is in between these numbers, and the one that it's closest to is 30. So what I want to think about is what is 1/6 of 30? And 1/6 of 30 is 5. So I know that 1/6 of 28 is about 5. That's how I estimate. We're going to do the same thing here, except this time for 37, we're not looking for 1/9 of 37. We're going to look at 4/9 of 37. So it's going to change things a little bit. So again, I want to find a number close to 37 that I can divide by 9. Okay? Again, if you think about this, numbers that we can divide by 9 that are close to 37, I've got 36, okay, which is 4 times 9. And I've also got 45, which is 5 times 9. 36 is closer, so I want to think about is, okay, what is 4/9 of 36? Now, 4/9 is a little different than what we did before, because before we were just looking for problems that had a numerator of 1. Okay, that's how we're going to start. I want to think about what is 1/9 of 36. So if I take 36, divide it into 9 groups, in each group I'm going to have 4 things. So that means in 4 groups, if each group has 4 things, in 4 groups I'm going to have 16 things. So 4/9 of 37 is about 16. Okay? All right, the last method we can use when it comes to estimating is what we call rounding. We're going to look at each of these numbers and we're going to round to 0, a half, or a whole. Or in the case of mixed numbers, we'll think about this as rounding down to the whole number before, to the half, or to the whole number above it. Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. We'll think about what it is. But this is the same way we rounded when we were looking for sums and differences. So if I look at 5/8, that's very close to a half, because 4/8 would be a half, so 5/8 is close to a half. If I look at 8/9, I think, okay, well that's almost 1 whole, because 8 out of 9 is almost 1 whole complete thing. So if I were going to round this, 1/2 times 1 is going to equal 1/2. So I know that 5/8 times 8/9 is about 1/2. All right? So let's look at this one. Again, this is with mixed numbers now. So 3 and 7/8. I want to think about, is this 3 and 7/8? Is it close to 3? Is it close to 3 1/2? Or is it closest to 4? Okay, when I look at 3 and 7/8, 7/8 is almost a complete thing, so that's going to be close to 4. Then I'm going to look at 7/9. 7/9, half of 9 would be 4 1/2, so 7/9 is much bigger than that. So if I were going to round this, I would round this up to a whole. So I have 4 times 1 means my answer is going to be about 4. Let's keep going. So 1 4/5. Look at 4/5. 4/5 is almost a whole, so this number is going to round up. So it's like 1, 1 1/2, or 2. 1 4/5 is closer to 2. Now 1/9, that's really small. That's practically 0. Okay, so that 1/9 would round to 0, and what I'm going to get as my answer here, 2 times 0 is not 2. 2 times 0 is 0. All right, one more problem to look at. 7 5/6. 7 5/6. 5/6 is almost a whole, so we're going to round that to 8. 2 1/4. 1/4 is kind of small, so we're going to round that down to 2. And 8 times 2 would be 16. Now remember, you could make an argument to round 2 1/4. That could be said, well, it's exactly in the middle between 2 and 2 1/2. And you might think about, well, which way do you want to round it? You want to round to make things easy for yourself. It's going to be much easier to multiply 8 times 2, 8 times 2, than it is going to be to multiply 8 times 2 1/2. So I wouldn't round it that way.